So here is the Africa rifle platoon for the new mid-war range. It's quite a chunky blister pack because there's a lot in it, as we shall see. And you'll notice that these are metal, not the new plastics. I'm always thinking that that's not just a matter of time constraints for getting a new range of plastics made. I think there may be challenges to getting all the gear that a German grenadier type figure has, such as the water bottle, mess tin, digging in, entrenching tool, you know, the gas mask canister. There's a lot going on, but time will tell to see if they bring these out in the new plastic. So let's have a look inside. So we've got the cards, and there's quite a few things here. You've got cards for the platoons themselves, for the Africa Rifle Company HQ. You've got, just trying to get this off, you have got formation cards, as well as the rifle platoon itself, and movement orders. So you have got a very comprehensive set of cards to go with the version 4 of the game. Now this is also quite good. The slip of paper that's in the blister comes with a bit of a guide, show you how to base them. That's really important for new players or somebody who's not put a German force together. You don't have to refer to the website, you've got most of what you need right here, and it's also quite a good guide for basing and for painting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 3 medium bases. Sorry, 3 small bases. And then we've got the figures themselves. These are fairly typical Battlefront metal minis. The faces are on the skinnier side, but it's got a lot of depth to them, so you're most likely able to wash and dry brush if that's your preferred style. And it's good to see you've got goggles, sand goggles and such like on some of the helmets. So these are quite crisp looking castings. Not too bad at all, not a hell of a lot of flash, and they're on round bases to easily fit into the recesses there. Now we have a mortar, we have heavy machine gun sprue with the 2 types, so more likely it'll be the 34 you want. It's also got the ammo cases, which are always good for scattering around the base, just like the ammo case for the mortar. And then that's for your heavy machine gun. Just make sure you've got it set right, points that way, so 2 legs back, 1 forward. And then we've got the Pupchen. Now there's actually 2 in here. One of these is a Pupchen and one's a Panzerbusch maybe. They both look pretty similar. There's 1 set of trails, 1 set of wheels, so the chances are there's just 1 extra. But there you go. 3 MG bases, 3 support weapon bases, 3 command bases. I'm not sure. Why does 3 command? Let's have a quick peek. Does it have the company HQ with it? We shall see soon enough, because there certainly only seems to be 1 small base in the platoon diagram. So I'm going to come back to these when I'm ready to start the painting after I've done all the cleaning up. Here's a little progress report on the painting. The weather outside, as a matter of interest, is thunderstorms and hailstones. So that's fairly typical Scottish summertime. Anyway, I'm painting the platoon in roughly 2 halves. Here's a good look at one of the mortar crewmen. Now if you look at the end of the video, there is a link to a guide on how to paint these guys start to finish, so every single brush stroke, I'm not going to put it as part of this review, but you will be able to pick that up just by following the link at the end of the video. But it's worthwhile just stopping and reviewing what we're doing, just so you get an idea of the journey from start to finish. Now the base colour for the uniform, this is Panzer Aces, Vallejo Panzer Aces 336, and then it's highlighted with Panzer Aces 329 Highlight Russian Tank Crew. It's quite a strong highlight, as you can see if you look at the two of them together, so you've just got to make sure it's a really fine line, and you can see that in the other video that I described earlier. And the trousers are Highlight US Tank Crew 322, there's Panzer Aces again, the model colour 986 Deck Tan. Once again, that's quite a strong highlight, so you have to be careful how you're applying it. Don't go over the top, but it does give that nice high contrast look that will show off the shape nicely. There's a couple of guys here I've thought put an armband, paint the armband on them. Some of them have it sculpted like this man here on his right sleeve. So I shall go down to that. Otherwise these guys are ready, and I can move on to the second half. Once I've done all that, I'll be able to move on to the basing. One other thing, the helmets worth pointing out at this point, if you don't have time to view the other video, is the shade colours. Panzer Aces 339 Highlight Fuel Grey 2, with the main colour being back to this same Panzer Aces Highlight US Tank Crew 322. Anyway, these guys, really nice to paint. I just want to say that just now. I think having painted this box has made up my mind what I want to do for my own mid-war desert force. It's going to be a German infantry company. I really like how these guys paint up the details, really nice. Poses are nice. So I like infantry companies anyway, I enjoy painting them, so I think this has made my mind up that that's where I'll be going for my own force. So I'll be back when there's a bit more progress and I'm ready to base. I've completed the painting now. A couple of points worth going over, as you can see how I mount little pieces for painting. I don't paint them on the sprue, prefer to cut them off. Don't like cutting after something has been painted, so I stick them on like that. You can see the lying MG figures like that, and even the 28mm SB, ZB, whatever the hell it's called. I've got that glued on at the trails. Figures are all on the bases. I have to do a little bit of filling. These, you can see the plugs neatly fill the hole, but the figures don't. There's always a little bit of a gap. And to avoid problems with that, you can maybe see it best on this space here. I push figures together, so to speak, so that the bigger gaps are harder to fill on the open side of the figure. It's particularly important when you've got three figures really close together. So squeeze them in together, glue them in place, and then put the filling in. Now I've put filling in because at the next stage that you'll see, the material is quite thin and it will sink and leave a noticeable line. One other point to mention is with the MG team, the HMG team even, pick your base carefully so you can line up the loader and the firer, so that the MG itself, it's got a nice neat position for the belt fed ammunition going into it. So what I'm going to do next is put the sand type base on it. Now I'll show you how I do this. I do it in a very simple and easy way. The first thing I do is I use this Vallejo product, heavy transparent gel with Denso. Now it's a very soft, very soft fluid material. See, it's starting to pour out there. So in itself, that's not going to make us have sand. So what I use is this Army Painter Snow. Now hopefully you can see there it's very fine grains. So it actually makes very good sand, and then when it's set into this, it's become very, very strong, resilient, and sheds very, very little. So try to keep place tidy, not knock things over. So I apply this in a thin, even coat. If I wanted to have more raised areas, I would use my filler to create that. You don't want to be leaving this to dry with large or deep areas. It's probably going to be quite tricky if you did that. You're not going to get a good, even, consistent finish. Now I'm just being careful around the feet of the figures. These guys are more difficult perhaps than others because they're all kneeling down. One point is you can take this off with your fingers and then clean your fingers afterwards, and it's quite fine. It's okay. It's an acrylic resin. Now you notice that I'm leaving ridges in this as I'm going. That's okay in this instance because it's meant to be a light sandy surface, and there is very likely going to be sort of wind blown look to it. Just going to take that off there. Now this is a tricky bit, getting in between all these figures. It's okay to get some sand on it, but you don't want to be getting too much. And then around the back here. So having done that, I'm going to do a quick tidy up around the edges. I want a real sharp definition. Just wipe my hands down a bit. Then, oops, I just have to make some space here. And we take the tub of snow, put the base in, and then I just start throwing it over. I try not to push the figure in, the base into the snow, because it really is soft and it will push the gel away and form really big ridges. So tap it off. Any areas that you're worried about, you can just tap them down a bit. Don't do it too strong though, or you'll expose the gel, and you really want the sand to be the uppermost surface. Any little bit stuck to the side, that's just a bit of I don't know, static that's sticking there. That'll brush off with your finger. I recommend you leave that. Same if any that is on the lower parts of the figure, you'll brush them off when you're doing the painting. So, one other thing, just broken the machine gun off the base it's mounted on. Now I'm not going to fix the machine gun in place, but what I'm going to do is try and create a little recess there where that'll be a good mounting point for the glue when the MG is in place. Just a little bit of a clean there, and you can, with a little bit of a wet brush, just push that feature back. This material will tend to lift off with anything you push into it, so you do sometimes need to push it back, and a wet brush will do the trick. So I'll repeat that same kind of setting process with the anti-tank gun and the crewmen manning this MG34. Otherwise it's a nice simple spread it all over, dip it in, and then leave it to dry. You need to leave it to dry overnight. Well, there's a couple other things here. There's some ammo boxes. To be honest, I'm not going to bother setting them in. They will just sit quite easily on top of the painted surface for the heavy machine gun team. So next time you see these, I'll show you the painting of this surface, because it's a very, very, very porous surface, and you just have to approach it in a particular way and you get really quick attractive results. So I'm making good progress with the basing. I'm going to show you the steps here. This is the figure, the bases rather, after the material has dried. If there is any little traces of material on the edges, they can appear like sort of tide marks, and you can easily just scrape them off. And then I just removed any pieces of the snowy material that were sticking to the sides of the bases or the feet of the figures. So I'm going to take this and move on to that, and then end up with that. The what you can see there, the darker bases there. So the first step is to give it basically what's a really heavy wash of Iraqi dark sand. Right, so I make sure I've got plenty of water on the palette, and then hopefully this will come across okay. You can see the paint is just spreading around by capillary action. I'm not having to scrub at the surface. This material just basically draws it in and distributes it for you. You might like to keep a smaller brush to hand just to work around the feet. And there, you see that's really quite quick. Oops, doing the light. That's a very quick result, and it just draws it out. Now what you need to do is let it dry, because that's quite wet, and then put on a thicker wash. Exact same as before, but just make sure it's a bit thicker, and tidy up any areas around the feet. Maybe you paint some paint straight in on any of the most of the sort of bald areas in between the legs where the powdery material hasn't settled. So once that was done, you have this very bright aspect of the dark sand colour. It's called dark sand, but it's actually very, very bright sand. I've glued in some stones, and what I'm going to do now is put an enamel wash over it to get this darker, more realistic kind of sand tone. So I'm using Umbral Sand Wash. I've given this a good stir already, but I'll just give it a little shake before I open it. Now, just as with the acrylic paint we've put on, this wash will just draw itself into the grains of this material. No need for scrubbing. Just gently spread it around, and as it's an enamel wash, it's really easy, fast flowing, so you won't have to do too much work. It will do it all for you. Pick off that loose stone. Just check around the feet, and that's okay. So that's it basically, that's your, that's your final look. Nothing more complicated than that. So what I'll do next is I'll finish off that other command base and paint the base trims, a coat of matte varnish for some protection, and then some flock. So I'm going to come back when that's done so you can see the finished result. So here is the completed platoon. I've configured it with effectively 4 MG bases, one of them being the command base, and one base set aside as the potentially a company command or second in command. As you can see, I've added a little bit of ground cover, but not much. The material for the sand looks quite effective. It looks quite sandy and in scale. And overall, there is a sort of weather-beaten, sun-bleached look to the unit. So my general sort of feelings on this blister is it's got some very nice sculpts, very nice casts. It's quite an interesting unit in terms of gameplay. It's not going to be very resilient launching assaults. It's got 3 gun teams in it, but it's certainly going to be resilient in standing up against assaults and supporting tanks. So I think it's a unit that's you're going to have to think carefully about how you use it in the game, but it's a very attractive unit. I quite like it, and it's made up my mind for me to have 2 infantry platoons. Basically an infantry formation is going to be the core of my Africa Corps force, and I've already made the order and got blisters sitting behind me, so they'll be on my painting table just as soon as I can get some time for myself. So please check the link at the end of the video where I go through the painting in detail, start to finish, brush stroke by brush stroke of one individual. But there you go. Hopefully you'll be able to give this platoon a go yourself, guys, and hopefully that basing material has given you some ideas. And incidentally, you can use other forms of basic material, such as what I normally use, Coven adhesive. The powder will stick to that as well, and I've used that before to create a sandy kind of earth texture, so it doesn't have to be that Vallejo thick gel. You can use many different things, probably even just white glue, though I'm not sure. You'd have to get it on a nice even thick consistency. And one last word on that, when I was matte varnishing these guys, there was no little bits of powder flying off the bases, which you would see through the force of the air if it wasn't a strong and steady surface C. Oops, nothing came off. Obviously you can wreck it and tear it to bits, but for general play I think it'll work fine. But there you go. Africa Corps Rifle Platoon version 4 blister.